What's up, my Yu-Gi Bros? I'm your host, the one, the only, the RJB0. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. Today, on the first episode of The Competitive Spirit, I'm going to be talking about the backbone of any competitive community, and that's discipline. Give a little break for the intro.
I hope you keep that.
I wanted to start by talking about discipline, because as you may notice throughout this video, discipline is kind of the source from which all other parts of the competitive spirit flow. You'll notice that elements of focus and of the controlled mindset and of time management, which are the three categories I'm going to be talking about, are things that you actually need in order to produce things like sportsmanship, in order to produce self-improvement. So these three traits that largely boil down into discipline are actually three of the most important things that you as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, and actually kind of you as a person, can cultivate in yourself. So let's start with focus. Focus, if you want to kind of break it down into a couple of things, I would say is split a little bit into attention to detail and keeping your mind on the important things. And that is especially true in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's true both in testing and in preparing for an event, and also when you are actually in a game. When you're preparing for an event, when you are testing a deck, when you are looking for ways that you can improve your play against the meta, focus is extremely important because you want to spend your time and energy on the things that are actually going to improve your chances of succeeding at the event that you're going to. When you're testing out your deck, you want to be making sure that the things that you're looking at, the things that you're testing for, are the things that make a deck win. Things like consistency, power, responsiveness. As for attention to detail, you want to train yourself to notice the marginal differences that changes in your deck, changes in your opponent's deck, changes in the meta make to your deck's ability to play. And that is a tough thing to work with because some of these changes are very minor and you only see them over long periods of play, more than you might even see in a single event. However, it's critical because if you don't have focus when you are making your deck, when you are testing a deck, and when you're preparing for an event, you're going to be working with things that are not as important, and therefore you're going to have wasted your time a lot on suboptimal goals, I would say. Focus manifests a little bit differently in actual gameplay once you're at the event. When you are in your game, focus really shows up as understanding what is going on the field, what is going on in your opponent's hand, what your opponent has been acting like, what the decision tree for your next move is, and what you know about your opponent's deck and the way that they may have played against your deck. And focusing on your game means paying all of your attention to those things and take your mind off of things like your matchups for the day, how angry you are that the last dude rule sharked you. Things like that are not important to your current game, and those are often things that are tough to not be thinking about during a game, which is why this is more of a training process. It is kind of an ongoing thing. I have this phrase that I say that perfection is a process and not a product. When you are developing focus, it is a matter of always improving your focus, not trying to find perfect focus. The second part of discipline that I mentioned earlier is a controlled mindset, and focus plays into that, but they are not necessarily equivalent. Whereas focus really goes exclusively into your gameplay and into your testing, the controlled mindset has effects on things like your image as a player and your position within the community, because a controlled mindset determines in quite a lot of ways how you act and how you behave around other players. A good player and a good member of the community critically analyzes their own behavior and their own actions and their own words to make sure that they are acting in a way that is optimal to their gameplay, their position in the community, and their image as a player. A strong player will notice when they are thinking in an unproductive or unsportsmanlike way. They'll stop themselves in the middle of saying something that is unnecessarily mean, that is arrogant, or cocky. Arrogance and cockiness are two of the biggest killers of a Yu-Gi-Oh player because they take away from focus. And if you have a controlled mindset, you will notice yourself You will notice yourself thinking in that type of way or acting in that type of way, and you can stop it. So cultivating a controlled mindset means that you are constantly thinking about improving your own sportsmanship as a player. It also means improving on your focus. It means focusing on the things, once again, that are important, and making sure that the decisions that you make are always in the interest in your success in whatever your goal is. So when you are thinking about how your matchups went, it's very, very tempting to think about how lucky your opponent may have been, how much you hate the current format, how sacky the deck that you perceive to have been your downfall at an event may have been. Those are things that are really easy to slip into thinking about, but with a controlled mindset, you'll notice that kind of thing. And you'll notice yourself thinking about that and think, well, that's not very helpful to me, because that's not actually going to improve my gameplay at the next event. And so that's kind of the controlled mindset when it comes to actually being on the event floor and thinking about the event. When you're testing, a controlled mindset really means making sure that the decisions that you're making, once again, are always in the interest of succeeding. So when you're making a decision about your deck, making sure that the card that you chose to swap in for another, that you have a very good reason for doing that, and that the reason for doing that is better than having another card in there. It means not just throwing anything together, making sure that you don't think of anything as being particularly trivial, as long as it has any kind of substantial difference. Even if it's marginal, as long as it's still a substantial difference, you should always be paying attention to it. And the last bit of discipline is time management. This one is huge, and especially in Yu-Gi-Oh! Not so much in gameplay, although slow play is obnoxious as hell, but actually, when you are testing your deck and when you are preparing for an event, time management is huge. Even as a casual player, and this is going to be an especially troublesome thing for a casual player trying to get into the competitive game. You know, you like to play for fun, and high stress levels can often reduce the amount that you enjoy the game. And so it is important to play in a way that is enjoyable to you. Make sure that you're taking breaks. However, if you are preparing to go to an event and play competitively, then you need to make sure that you are spending enough time, enough of your Yu-Gi-Oh! Time, on testing your deck, on determining what the meta decks of that event are going to be playing, like doing your research, playing out games so that you play more effectively against the meta. Those are the things you really need to spend the most of your time on when you are preparing for an event. And so if you are playing on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, you want to make sure that a significant chunk of what you are doing, in fact, I would argue the majority of what you are doing, is testing for the event. If you are testing with your friends, of course you're going to have fun and goof off. I do that all the time when I'm testing with friends. It's part of what's fun about the game, but you want to make sure that you are focused enough. Once again, focus is one of the key issues here, that you are keeping yourself on track in terms of the way that you are using your time, such that you are getting the optimal testing out of your time. Now that testing, that amount of time, is probably going to reduce the more you play, just because of the amount of experience you have in the game, but it's something that you always want to be thinking about and always want to be improving in yourself. So those are what I see as the 3 parts of discipline. Focus is kind of the core of it, and the other 2 help with focus and also add on their own things, such as your ability to cultivate a good community. I hope you all liked this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why in the comment section below, and let me know if you think that there are any other aspects of discipline in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! If there are any bits of the competitive spirit you want me to talk about in particular, and of course, subscribe and hit that bell thing for more text discussion, analysis, and general Yu-Gi-Oh! Shenanigans. Thank you all for watching. I am your host, the one, the only, the RJB0, and I got a jet.